Hello there, everybody. This is the second part to this week's comic book review videos. So, yeah, let's jump in with the DC comics in this video. First up is Constantine, however you pronounce it. The Hellblazer, issue number 1. I think this is DC's third time trying to do Constantine in the New 52 universe, and I always fall for it. But this one is actually pretty good. Starting with the negative, because I want to end on a high note. The the parts of this that rub off the worst on me is the art. And it's not that the art is bad. I mean, it's really weird in some places, as I mentioned during the preview. That was in the back of one of the Convergence books, I forget which. The faces in this comic are really weird. They all look kind of very deer in headlights, or like Invader Zim characters, which again is very deer in headlights. I don't know why they decided to go with the faces as they did there. But otherwise, except for the faces, it's not that the art is bad. I quite like the style. It's very rough. But it seems to me like it's a style much better tailored for like posters instead of comic books. With comic book art, there's always some sort of implied movement, I feel, and there's always an implied motion going on. One panel always leads to the next, and this art feels a lot more like a poster. Like it shouldn't be moving at all. Like these are just photographs and not frames of a movie, you know? Like it seems like the style they were going for with this kind of rough style is like a band poster, like something you would see hanging up in a punk band club or bar or something, advertising, this band played here, this band is going to play here, and the style looks very good for that sort of thing. Unfortunately, this is a comic book. Like I said, the art I don't think is bad in any way. It's just I don't know whether it's something I'll get used to or just something I'll have to take the comic in despite. But past the art, I thought this was actually a really good book. The opening is great, just a really, really persuasive hook. Really wants to get you reading. You open and you just see John covered in blood, otherwise naked, in front of this woman who's not panicking. She's curious, but that's still not the normal response that I think most people would have to this situation. And I love the details too. That he clearly walked in from the outside, which means he was outside naked too, covered in blood. I just like this opening page, and then we discover through John's monologue that he appears to be fully clothed. That to her, the reason she's not freaking out is because it's an illusion. He's casting some sort of glamour on her or something. And that's a really good just introduction to what this character will be doing in this book. That John Constantine is a trickster. You can't believe anything he says or everything he says or everything that even appears to be with him. And that's kind of just what he does through this entire book, is he's playing with people. He's twirling them around his fingers so he can use them later. The main conflict of this book involves John being recruited to help a demon, basically fight off another demon. It's a business story. This demon opened a club with another demon, and the second demon is taking all the soul money or whatever. And so now John Constantine has to help this demon get her pay or whatever. And John solved this, he's roped into this, and he solves it kind of like non-violently, and he doesn't even bother to like finish the whole job. He kind of tricks the demon into solving her own problem, which ends up worsening her problem, but she also deserved it. So yeah, it's just John smooth talking his way through problems and being just being a jerk, being a dick, playing with people, not really respecting them, and it's just a fun read. It's very well done. It's the most I've liked John Constantine so far in the New 52. So if you've been waiting for a good kind of tricky story, then I would pick up issue 1, and I hope that issue 2 is even better. Excuse me, I do have some sniffles, allergies, don't you know. Next up is Section 8, issue number 1. I'm completely new to this story. I didn't read the original Hitman. I heard really good things, and I heard I should pick this up. So I did. And yeah, it starts off with another great intro with the epic story of Six Pack. And I guess Six Pack is a character from the original Section 8 or the original Hitman comic. But it starts with like the mythic legend of Six Pack. As he's recounting his fight alongside the Justice League, and how he was the hero that saved the day or something. And then excuse me a bit. Gross, I know, but allergies. Anywho, yeah. And then as soon as we're done telling the legend of Six Pack, we cut to his secret identity. And I love his secret identity. I just love, what's his name? Sydney something. I'm terrible with names. What's the identity? I think he's just called Sydney. I forget. They don't really say his last name. Anyway, Sydney, who's this art dealer who everybody loves, has a line for everything, but is also an alcoholic, and it is when he drinks that he becomes Six Pack. He kind of has this weird hulking out moment, except it's not hulking out, it's getting really drunk and thinking he is a superhero. Yeah, it just gets better from there. Just everything about this book, it's really funny. This is a very funny book, and it's very well done. As soon as he gets drunk, he ends up in this kind of Z-list superhero bar with this demon guy, Bader, who is shaping up to be kind of the Groot of the comic. All he can say is, "I am Bader," really loudly. And, yeah, the main plot of this, other than that, is a Six Pack getting a team back together. He wants to be a hero again. He's making a new Section 8 and wrangling up a bunch of other heroes. So here is the team that we're introduced to in this book. There's Six Pack. What's this guy? The Dog Welder. Yeah, Dog Welder. I can't really read. It's all reflected for me. The Grappler. Guts, who is just Guts. Bueno. Excelente. Power Tool. So these really crappy heroes. And as he's forming the team, he realizes he doesn't have 8 people. Luckily for him, as implied on the cover, Batman ends up showing up, and Batman acts really weird. As soon as Batman shows up, he, Six Pack tries to recruit him. The art gets really weird, so we go from the normal art to this kind of Neil Adams Batman art. And in every panel Batman is on, or at least once a page, there's another reference to older Batman art. So here is Bane breaking his back from the Nightfall story arc because Batman is getting a parking ticket, which is just hilarious, Batman getting a parking ticket. And then is these overblown reactions, the cover to Death in the Family. Yeah, it's just a very funny book. I'm not quite clear what's going on. It's weird to see Batman getting so emotionally distraught over a parking ticket. It's unclear whether that's actually happening or whether it's just Six Pack being drunk and imagining all this happening. But yeah, it's just a very, very enjoyable read. I got lots of laughs out of it. And just I recommend it. Not a very good first issue in that you don't know what's going on, but it's a very entertaining ride, so heavily recommended. Next up is Batman Superman, issue 21. And again, starting with negative, unfortunately, this is a book that asks you to buy books and read books that haven't come out yet in order to know everything that's going on. And it happened last week with Action Comics. It's happening this week with this comic. It happens slightly again in Detective Comics, which I'll review after this one, but not as bad. But yeah, it does bother me that we're being asked to read books that haven't come out yet. First of all, because, well, they haven't come out yet. I can't know what's going on. And secondly, because there's this saying in the comics fan community that every comic is somebody's first. And it's a really crappy first comic if you have no idea what's going on and you're being asked to... it's basically an upsell. And I get, comics have been asking you to buy the next one forever, but it shouldn't be required to enjoy this book. Luckily, for Batman Superman issue 21, this book is enjoyable without knowing entirely what's going on and all the setup and lead up to all of that. We're following a lot of the same story we were introduced to in Action issue 41, with Superman being depowered and kind of hunted by supervillains and law enforcement alike. And one of the law enforcers hunting down Superman is the new Batman. I'm going to go to the panel. Yeah, one of the people hunting Clark Kent is the new Batman, who we know is Jim Gordon. Superman doesn't know that yet. Superman is slowly realizing that the guy in this suit isn't Bruce Wayne. But it's still confusing, at least to me, why everybody suddenly is hunting Clark Kent, especially Jim Gordon. You'd think, Jim Gordon allied with the original Batman, who is a vigilante. Why is he suddenly so against Superman, who is Superman, who nobody should have any reason to hate? I guess that'll be revealed in Superman issue 43 or whatever, I don't know. But anywho, that happens. And basically it ends with the rematch about to occur. There's some plot in between the two fights with Clark Kent looking for answers or something. He's basically looking for he goes to Lex Luthor. Sorry, I'm not doing a good job of this. He goes to Lex Luthor, asks Lex why all these people are attacking him, because Lex probably knows. Lex tells him that all the weapons that these people are using have a unique energy signature that originates in Gotham. Hence, he goes to Gotham, runs into the new Batman, and all the rest of the book happens. But while I brought up Lex Luthor, they have this really great interaction in this book, where Lex is talking to Clark, and he admits that he doesn't believe it. Like, he doesn't understand why Superman would be Clark Kent, or how Superman could be Clark Kent. Which I think just gives great insight to both of these characters. That, Lex doesn't understand why Superman would want to pretend to be human. And, it's just great insight that it just doesn't make sense to him. Lex cannot comprehend that Clark Kent is Superman, that, he could be at once Superman and also mild-mannered human Clark Kent. And that's just really great insight into both of these characters. Unfortunately, that is offset by Batman versus Superman for as of yet unexplained reasons or motivations. But overall, I did enjoy this book. There's also some interactions between Clark and Alfred where he finds out from Alfred that Bruce is dead, but he also believes that could be a bluff. After all, as Clark Kent says, Alfred is a trained actor. So, and there are hints in other books too this week that Bruce Wayne might not be as dead as believed. And of course, we get a talk between Clark and Lois, and things are very rough between them. It's revealed that Lois is the one who revealed Clark's secret identity to the world, so understandably some rough patches there. But despite all the bad things I had to say, I still enjoyed this book. There's still a lot of good character moments, a lot of good dialogue, and while it isn't revealing as I might have liked it to be, just plot-wise, it's very revealing into characters and relationships and all that, and in my opinion, that's even more important, and it's done very well, so I really liked this issue, despite all of its problems. Next up, as I said, is Detective Comics issue 41, and as Detective Comics has kind of been in these past issues, it's slipping away more and more from Batman to kind of a Harvey Dent story. We open on Batman, of course, because, well, why wouldn't you open on Batman? He's the popular character, he's the main draw. And so we open with a lot of exposition, actually, which is a nice change of pace from comics expecting us to know things that come out in the future. So we open with a lot of exposition, Jim Gordon explaining that he took on the role of Batman and he's still unsure. He still doesn't quite believe it. He's still unsure if this is what he's supposed to be doing. But we quickly transfer onto Harvey Dent, and we see Harvey Dent dealing with the fallout of Batman's death. He's being recruited onto the new Batman task force. He doesn't like it. He doesn't like the idea of helping a vigilante, even if he's a police-sanctioned vigilante. Especially when he doesn't know who's under the new mask. This becomes a little weird when we consider Batman 41, which I'm going to be reviewing next, because in Batman 41, he says that Jim and Harvey have a talk, and it's revealed that Harvey does know that Jim Gordon is the new Batman. But in this one, he still doesn't trust the new Batman, even though he says he'll trust Jim Gordon. And he has no idea where Jim Gordon is. So it's kind of weird that Harvey Dent both knows, and in Batman 41, gives Gordon a pep talk and tells him to become the new Batman, and in this book he still has no idea where Jim Gordon is and doesn't trust the new Batman and doesn't want to be part of the task force. Unfortunately, Harvey Dent not trusting the new Batman and not wanting to be part of the task force is kind of the main story in this book. Besides Gordon and Harvey, other characters are Renee Montoya, who I think is being reintroduced into Gotham. I don't remember seeing lots of her in the New 52. I think she was in Batwoman, but that's a bit fuzzy for me. But she's back in Gotham, and she is part of the new Batman task force, or at least claims to be. And this book is shaping up to be more about the Batman task force, about the new team helping Jim Gordon as Batman, kind of his team of Alfreds, so to speak. Instead of being about Batman outright. And I like that. I like that Detective Comics is about the detectives. It's about the police. And besides, we have way too many Batman books going on anyway, even though there are less now than there have been, which is good. But yeah, I'm liking how this is shaping up to be a team about Batman support group. Lots of interesting stories to tell there, especially if you're going on with the police-sanctioned Batman. And I was... Again, despite all the issues I have just with the inter-universe continuity of things, I enjoy this book as a standalone issue and as just a read on its own outside of the main universe. I'm just going to blow my nose one more time before moving on to the last DC book I picked up this week, which is the very much anticipated Batman 41. As I already discussed, post-Endgame, post the quote-unquote death of Bruce Wayne, Jim Gordon is taking up the mantle of Batman. And this basically tells how Jim Gordon came upon that mantle, how Jim Gordon became the new Batman, and his first mission out in the field as Batman. We open on a mysterious guy sitting down on a bench. We find out who he might be at the end of the issue, and it's a very gasp, surprise, oh my god moment. Not going to spoil it quite yet. But then we switch to this big electric monster attacking a poor Cuban neighborhood in Gotham City, in the Narrows, where Gordon, as Batman, is tasked with stopping it. And just the intro to this new Batman is very, very cool. He arrives in a blimp, the bat signal shining down on the enemy, telling them, you're in a whole bunch of whoop-ass now. And then Gordon, hanging upside down from the bottom of the blimp, like a bat, dives in onto the threat and just lands, boom, right on top of the monster. And that is how we're introduced to Jim Gordon, Batman. Incredible opening, incredible introduction, just action-packed, literally diving right into the action. Very, very fun, very, very good. And Greg Capullo's art is amazing, as it's always been. But also Scott Snyder's writing is, you notice the difference right off the bat, right from the beginning narration, that Jim Gordon as Batman is, he's not as confident in himself. He's not sure whether or not he should be Batman. Unlike Bruce, who, Batman was his entire life, Jim Gordon is adjusting to this role. He has to become Batman, unlike Bruce, who became Batman when he was 8 years old. He's someone who has to learn, who has to psych himself up and be like, okay, I'm Batman now, I'm going to think like Batman, and just, is forced to dive into the role. And it's just, the writing is incredible, how you have these two very different inner monologues, both of them as Batman. And then as we continue through the comic, we backtrack a bit, see how Jim Gordon became Batman, how he was dragged into this role, or how he was convinced to volunteer to become the new Batman. And it's really great character stuff. The reason that Jim is tapped is because he has the essential Batman qualities. He's not the toughest, he's not the smartest, but he loves Gotham, and he knows Gotham inside and out, and he is a brilliant detective. And they say this in the beginning, Jim is told, you'd be the best Batman, and then as the comic goes along, as he fights his first villain, we're being shown all those qualities. He's proving to us, yes, I know Gotham, I know what these people are motivated by, I know the neighborhoods, I know all the key people, and he proves that he is indeed the best candidate for Batman, besides Bruce Wayne and perhaps Dick Grayson, who, can't really be tapped for the role at this point. We're also shown more of Jim Gordon's backup team. Primarily, what I like, the character we're introduced to is, or reintroduced rather, is Julia, who's going, or I assume it's Julia Pennyworth. She's also named Julia. She looks like Julia Pennyworth, but she's going under a secret identity as Julia Perry. Pennyworth, kind of close. And it looks like Julia is going to be Jim Gordon's Alfred, which is incredibly appropriate and also very exciting after seeing her in the Alfred role during Endgame, during Eternal, and now in the Batman books proper. Granted, not, to Bruce. And there's also a lot of just the universe, the book kind of growing into the role. We see all these different color schemes for the armor that are all, Batman in-jokes. So we have the Dark Knight Returns color scheme, kind of classic blue costume color scheme. Batman is in R, 0 Year Batman with the purple gloves. Because this book knows, and what this book does very well is, besides introducing Gordon to the book, or Gordon to the role of Batman, we're being introduced to Gordon as Batman. Gordon is the audience surrogate here. He's just as confused, he's just as unsure as this as we all are. But by the end, just as Gordon is convinced that he can be Batman, I, as a reader, was also convinced that yes, he can be Batman. And if you don't like the big bunny robot suit, even Jim calls it that in the book, then you would be happy to find out, as I was, that there is a more Batman-y suit under it, and I just really like the design for this Batman suit too. Really, really cool stuff, I think. Even though there is a strong lack of cape. I mean, it's even on the back cover here, the ad for Batman Arkham Knight. The cape is just such a defining part of Batman that it's weird to see a Batman costume without it. But yeah, just a very great book. Very, very good introduction to this new character. As I said, I think it's brilliant how Scott Snyder uses Jim as the audience surrogate for Jim becoming Batman. And by the end of this book, I'm fully confident that Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo and Jim Gordon can do this. This can be the new Batman, even if by the end they hint towards Bruce Wayne maybe returning a little sooner than expected. Yeah, so really, overall, DC had a really good showing this week, and I like that because down at my core, I am a DC fan, and I always want it to be the best it can be. So, yeah, thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give me a like. That helps me out. If you want more of these, please subscribe. And, yeah, any comments, whatever, feel free to leave them down below. And if you're looking for the Marvel books that came out this week, I reviewed those in part 1 of this. Well, not of this video, but of this week's videos. And if you're looking for not DC and not Marvel books, then that's coming up in part 3. So if you're in the mood, stay tuned. And once again, thank you for watching, and hope you'll join me for more reviews.